and we're going to move on into our kind of last topic of the podcast. And Brandon, it's simple. This is the Virginia Tech Ohio State game from last year, the Labor Day game to kind of end all of our festivities for week 1 in the college football season. I'm going to be blunt with this one. Is this Dalvin Cook? Is this his Heisman moment and his Heisman statement?
I don't think so. Because I think that he's gonna have plenty of other opportunities to be able to make a statement. Would it be nice to be able to do it week 1 against Ole Miss? Yeah, absolutely.
Does this put him on the map, though? Is this the one where
he's already on the map? Where we
start looking at him maybe above Leonard Fournette or the Golden Boy in Stanford?
I think some people may already be doing that. Okay. So he's on the map. I think that this is more of a game that if he doesn't do well against Ole Miss, it can knock him a peg down. I think that otherwise he's staying right there on the map personally, I think, because he had such a good season last year. But you take a look. I mean, Ole Miss has a pretty good defense, and he's going to have to go up against them. I kind of mentioned this earlier on in a different video, different podcast, that he was going to possibly have some troubles in week 1 against this team. In week 1 and possibly in the final week of the season against Florida. Those are two good defenses kind of pegged in the beginning and right at the end that he'll have to be going up against. So if he is able to break through against Ole Miss, which he very well could. I mean, the good guys find running room, the good guys make plays, and they're big plays. But I think definitely, could this be a statement? Certainly, but is this like the statement? No, because he's already made a statement. He's already made a case for himself. He did that last year, and that's Leonard Fournette too. I mean, if you had to remake that case for yourself, we'd have someone different each year, but you don't. You don't have to do that. That's the whole thing, is that everyone's looking at Deshaun Watson, Leonard Fournette, Dalvin Cook, who we just talked, Baker Mayfield. Mm-hmm. If they had to remake that case, no one would ever start looking until the season started. But we do, because we've already made that case for them. And I think that Dalvin Cook has solidified himself as certainly a top 10 guy to be talked about, if not maybe top 5 for Heisman watch.
Should the Heisman, this is a different conversation a little bit, but I'm going to throw it out there anyways. For the Heisman, should it be kind of like, and I know he was joking when he sent this tweet out, but I'm still going to ask this question. It's kind of like when Colin Cowherd sent out his top 4 like AP top 25, the top 4 teams, where he's like, yeah, number 1, check back in 8 weeks. Is that what we should do with the Heisman? You know what? Check back in 8 weeks, because, yeah, we can say that Dalvin Cook had a great game against Ole Miss, but really, if you have that one game early in the season and then dud the rest, you're not in the final 3. You're not bringing home that hardware. So should we maybe treat it like the college football playoff where, yeah, we've got kind of these guys going, but let's not really put Heisman rankings to it, and let's not really say who's number 1, who's number 2 until we get midway through the season and then start looking at it where we're putting like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I agree 100% with that. And the reason being is because take a look at last year. Leonard Fournette, first 8 weeks, phenomenal.
Then he ran into the Alabama wall.
And then you run into Alabama, you do horrible, and you're off the map. So 8 weeks of, trying to be really good, really productive, and really being good and productive, and all of a sudden, poof, it's like all for nothing. Mm-hmm. It's all for nothing. He even did well after Alabama, but it wasn't enough to get him back on the map. So yeah, I agree. I agree almost 100% with Colin Cowherd. You can do a whole lot in those first couple of weeks, but guess what? There's going to be a point where it gets to be later in the season. If you can't have statement games where you're good, it does not matter anymore.
And this is me tweaking, because his exact tweet is like, oh, AP top 25 came out. Oh, you want to hear mine? It was number 1, check back in 8 weeks. Number 2, Alabama will be really good. Number 3, Clemson as well. 4 through 25, a toss-up. That was it. And that, to me, you can take that and apply that to the Heisman as well. It doesn't matter what you do game 1, game 2, game 3. You got to keep that up an entire season. But if we look at this game, Florida State, we've talked about them enough this offseason. Some Seminole fans have gotten mad at me because I may be on the side of Louisville beating you guys this season that you guys may not be too pleased about. But the one thing with Dalvin Cook I want to get to is he the only team? Like, if Ole Miss stops him, well, you can't stop him. You can only hope to contain him. If they contain him, are they going to win the game? Or is Florida State going to say, you know what, you can contain Dalvin Cook, we'll beat you other ways?
I think that's kind of it, is that they could beat you other ways. I mean, they've got Francois there at the quarterback position, who they've been really, really happy with in camp. They've been really happy with him. And, people have made the comparison to him as Jameis Winston, and they've wanted Jimbo Fisher to talk about, and he said, I won't do that. I won't do that to players. But you can tell that Jimbo Fisher is very, very high on him, and
Let's just hope he doesn't like crab legs, right?
Well, if he does, just buy him at the store. But I think that really the thing is that, yes, this Florida State team, to me, who, I'll be honest, I'll come right out and say it. If I didn't say it before, I like them. I think they're going to be really good. I think they're going to be very good. They're a playoff team in my mind. That's why playoff teams don't just beat you with one aspect. Playoff teams will get you with a lot of different aspects. And I think they're a pretty full team. And when I say full team, I mean well-rounded. They are really kind of gearing to go. And I think this is going to be a great game. This is going to be, I kind of like the spot that it's in on television-wise, that you're only watching this game. But at the same time, I wish it was just here. I wish that was one of the games
you can't
this
wait
weekend.
For it. You can't wait for it. And the best thing about it, and I love how the college football, maybe I think it's last year for sure, but maybe the year before too, they've kind of embraced the Labor Day weekend and kind of said, you know what, we can take the full gambit of the weekend because the NFL's not on for another week. So you know what? We want that game on Monday, that primetime slot. We don't have to worry about fighting with TV contracts and viewers wanting to watch the big boys play in the NFL. We can kind of own that Labor Day Monday before the big boys even and the pros even lace them up for a regular season game. But to me, it's Ole Miss. You could talk about their defense shutting down, limiting, doing whatever they want to Dalvin Cook. For Ole Miss, it's Chad Kelly. Chad Kelly's got to win that. I mean, maybe it's just me. I look at the quarterback. He's got to win them this game. You know what? You said you were the best quarterback. Let's put it this way. You said you were the best quarterback in college or are the best quarterback in college. Don't lose this game. You lose this game, you're not the best quarterback in college. And I learned maybe some people saying, but Ricky, everybody loses some games. No, you can't. Because I'll tell you what, there's a kid in Clemson who's probably not going to lose a regular season game this year for sure. And he's pretty damn good. Probably the best kind of, and I'll get more to this when we get into draft, but he's probably the best quarterback that we've seen going from college to the pros since Andrew Luck.
Chad Kelly.
No, Deshaun Watson.
Okay.
Deshaun
Sorry.
Watson.
I thought you were still on the Chad Kelly train. I'm like, did you jump on there with him?
Deshaun Watson is the best prospect right now and probably will be when we get to draft talk since Andrew Luck.
Yeah, he's probably one of the most talked about guys.
Yeah, and I mean, with Chad Kelly, you want to prove me wrong, you win this game. And you fucking show me that it's you winning this game, not I made a few mistakes and my defense bailed me out. Woo, go defense.
Yeah, just like that. I think he'd probably say it just like that. But no, I do think that this is going to be a very good game. I'm looking for good things on really both sides because these teams are both very, very good. They've got the potential to really turn on the Jets offensively on both sides of the on both sides of the football too. I mean, defensively, sometimes that's a thing that people get away from, but I think with Ole Miss, that's a defense you never can get away from. They're good. They're stout. So that's why I think that Dalvin Cook, he may have his work cut out for him, but if he's as good as I think he is, he will make it happen.
And I mean, besides who wins this game, is there anything else with this game, any other games that we got to hit, Brandon? Anything week one that we didn't talk about? Maybe some games that you're looking forward to that weren't in the three that we kind of mentioned today?
No, man, I think we've covered it. I mean, there are going to be some great games. This is going to be the best. Like,
This is the best opening to a college football week that I've seen, that I can remember seeing in some time. But before I do the whole spiel where I signed it off, tell you that we're no longer on SoundCloud, moving to Blog Talk Radio, before I do all that, we are going to finish the podcast what we always finish with. Got a new name. I'm trying it out this week. Brandon's going to let me know what he thinks about it after the podcast. You guys can let me know down below. But here is Swanee's final thoughts.
Oh, I like it. I'll definitely let's go with that. It
sounds better than Pop Culture Minute. It's Swanee's final thoughts.
I like it. Well, folks, as most of you know, if you don't live under a rock in the sports world, or even if you watch Good Morning America, I think you've probably all seen Colin Kaepernick. And I know you're probably going, this guy needs to weigh in because he thinks that people care about his thoughts. Well, no, that's not exactly it, but mostly. Colin Kaepernick, he sits down. He couldn't stand up for the national anthem. He sits down during the national anthem. He does not pay tribute to the flag, and he says something along the lines, I'm no way quoting here because I don't have any quotes up, but he's basically saying that he's not going to support a flag or a symbolism of a flag that has not done anything good for Black Americans, has not done anything good for Hispanic Americans, has basically kind of left minority groups out in the cold. And here's what I think is that, you know what's going on in this country right now in the sense of a racial divide, I think it's very real, and I think it's very unfortunate. I think it's awful. And you know what? That's me being a white male who is not happy with how that stuff is. I think it's horrible what happens in communities outside of our own. You know, not every white person lives in a comfortable community, but neither does every, Black person or Hispanic person. You know, a lot of them are lucky to live in a community where there's comfort, where they don't have to worry about violence and things like that. And what are we doing on our part? What are we doing on our part to do better things, to make things better, to make living better, to make going to school better, all of that? What are we doing? Clearly not enough. Certainly not enough. So can I stand or sit with Colin Kaepernick in that respect? Absolutely. I think that his thinking is right in the sense of, you haven't done enough. But you know what? There are so many men and women who served this country, who fought for that flag. And by that flag, it doesn't mean that flag itself. It means for what that flag should represent. The freedom of America and the freedom to be able to do what we want to do, say what we want to say. In Russia, we'd be dead. In Russia, gays die for being gay. It's not all fun and games everywhere else. The complaints in different countries are so much different than what we have here. I can understand where Colin Kaepernick is coming from, but he has to understand where so many men and women are also coming from. You stand and honor what that flag should symbolize. If you don't, you are part of the problem. Go about it in a different way, my man. Go about it in a different way, because what you're saying is good. We need to do better. But what you're doing is not good, because there's people who look up to you, and there's a lot of people who are really disappointed by what you did. Take a better approach. That's all I'm asking.
I got two thoughts, and you guys, for my more thoughts, usually what I do is I usually elaborate on what Brandon had just said. The two things I'm adding is two things I heard today. One I saw, one I heard. One was from Colin Cowherd, where he said, you know what, do I agree with what is actually being said? No. But I can applaud and agree with your right to protest. That I can agree with. And the other one was one of my friends on Facebook, just lighthearted status, not against the issues with this, is, oh, well, it's funny that he decided to sit down because that's the view he is going to have all season. because he probably isn't going to start for the 49ers. So kind of a little lighthearted spot to it, but that is Swanee's final thoughts here on the Primetime Podcast. I want to thank you guys for spending your day, evening, afternoon, morning, whatever it is when you are listening to this podcast with us today. Go ahead, let us know down below what you thought about anything we talked about today, any of the games, Swanee's final thoughts, anything down below in the comments section. You can go hit us up on Twitter. Those are in the description as well. That's going to do it for the Primetime Podcast this week. I can't wait to be talking about some football next week as we enjoy this weekend. But as always, have a good day, everybody.
Thank you for listening to this MVP podcast. Follow us on Twitter at @MostValuablePod for more great podcasts.